handicappers, they're all in the know.
Live on a Monday afternoon in the East. It is 11 a.m. Pacific time in the West. Wherever you may be, hope you're enjoying or hope you will enjoy this edition of Betting Weekly Hardball, part of the Betting Weekly Studios under the Bet Rivers umbrella. I'm Adam the Bull, and I'm joined by professional handicapper Chris Macero. Chris, how was your weekend? How did it go? I know you went 1-0 Friday, but how was your weekend in general and from a gambling standpoint?
I'll say I had a really exciting weekend. I spent a lot of the weekend up at Del Mar. A friend of mine actually had a horse at the test at Saratoga. That's why I'm wearing this hat.
Nice.
Shout out to my big Blue Nation friends and my buddy Paul Kapler, who captured the grade 1 test. The horse Kilwin went to her knees, but still rallied and circled the entire field in a breathtaking performance. So give a little shout out to my buddies over there. I'll tell you the one team, though, that caused me a lot of trouble on Friday and Sunday were the New York Mets. They derailed a lot of my wagering baseball-wise this weekend. Kind of shocked that they lost 2 out of 3 to a lifeless Giants team. And the Mets are a little bit reeling right now. You know, half a game behind Philly. Just kind of shocked at the performance. They had the pitching matchups in all the games and just didn't deliver. They weren't just didn't get the job done, especially for a really good home team.
Yeah, we'll get to the Mets, one of the highlight games of the day. We'll get to everything that's going on in Major League Baseball today. There are no day games. The earliest start is 6:40 Eastern, so a lot to talk about, but nothing coming up for at least a few hours. And we'll get to a lot of key matchups as we head down the stretch here. You got, 8 weeks left, I believe, of the regular season in Major League Baseball. So you start to factor in, now that the deadline is passed, teams that are just playing out the string, teams that maybe brought up a lot of young. At this time of the year, Chris, in some ways, I think you got to change your handicapping, because there's some teams that, you see the Orioles and the Twins, they traded 1 million players. And you don't know how the young players that are going to get an opportunity are going to react. Some of these teams completely crater down the stretch, and some of these bad teams get a little boost from young players and play some decent baseball. They didn't necessarily sell, but we've kind of seen that from the Marlins, who have played really good baseball since the All-Star break. So it gets a little tricky this time of year, does it not?
It's a long season. Teams get hot. Teams go cold. I was surprised at the effort the Orioles gave against the Cubs this weekend.
Yeah,
you figure, they took one of the games, but they were in all 3. I mean, they could have easily swept the Cubs. They did drop 2 out of 3, but they put in a great effort. They gave away half their lineup, and they didn't have great pitching as it was. So just a good effort. Some teams, like you said, they might get a boost from some younger guys. Like I mentioned on the show Friday, and one of the main things I've been arguing with people about the Red Sox is, they didn't make any trades, and I was definitely bummed out about that. It would have been nice to get Joe Ryan, but right now I don't think I would trade any team, any position. Obviously, you'd like to be in first place, but I wouldn't trade this Red Sox team for any other team in Major League Baseball right now. Their second best record since June 15th, except for the Brewers, who have been super hot. But if you had Brewers Red Sox, I think I'd be more happy going to war with Crochet as my number 1 ace. I'm not sure Peralta or some of these guys when it comes to the big situations, and we've seen it in the past with the Brewers, even though they have the best run differential in baseball right now, or right there with the Cubs. I'm not sure they just can't seem to get it done in the playoffs. They always seem to play the Dodgers, or the last year was the Mets, and just can't get it to, they can't even get to the League Championship Series, let alone the World Series. So we'll see how it goes. I'm excited about the last 2 months of the season.
If you have a comment, a question, you want to tell us your pick, throw it in the YouTube chat, and we will get to that. You can also watch the show. It's on right now live on Twitter or X. So check it out there. You can send a tweet as well if you have a message for us or a comment or a question, whatever you want to get into. And one other thing, if you like what we're doing here on the show or any of our Betting Weekly shows, sign up for the newsletter, get exclusive tips in the Free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. All right, let's get to the matchups. Let's get to the first game of the highlight games on the day here, Chris. Some really good matchups of two good teams here, and let's start with the the Astros and the Marlins. We don't think of the Marlins as a good team, but they're playing good baseball right now. They've just gotten back to 500. They did not trade Sandy Alcantara. They did not trade any of their key guys that were getting bandied about in terms of the pitchers. Alcantara will pitch tonight against Jason Alexander of the Astros. The Marlins coming off their first 3 or more game sweep of the Yankees ever. They've won 5 in a row total, 9 of 11. Meanwhile, Houston going the opposite direction of late. They just got swept by your Red Sox there, Chris, and they've dropped 8 of 10. Had a little war of words there as well at the end of that game yesterday. But what are you buying here? You buying into this Marlins hot streak?
I think I'm selling more of the Astros. I think they kind of, overwhelmed the expectations early. This team wasn't supposed to be as good as the record says it is now, with all the guys they lost in the offseason. Bregman gone, Tucker gone. They had some starting pitching that was excellent, Hunter Brown and Framber, but the Red Sox got to both of them this weekend, and now they get now the Marlins are facing Jason Alexander, not the character from Seinfeld, but this guy, 16 innings pitched all year, 19 hits, 9 earned runs, and 3 starts. He's pitched 8 games. He's got a road ERA of 8. I couldn't be backing the Astros on a 3-game losing streak. They're a 500 team on the road. They're only 2.5 up in the division. It might be a little bit of panic time. This Houston team looked like they were going to run away with the division. They slip up a little bit more. They might be on the cusp of not even making the playoffs. And I just don't know about Alcantara. He's been, hot the last 2 games. We mentioned him last week on the show, how he had a road ERA of over 10. He goes out and throws a great game. He's given up 0 earned runs his last 2 starts and 12 innings pitched. It would have to be Marlins or pass for me. I don't have a play on this game. Marlins got to keep it going because as good as they have played, they're still 6 back in the wild card. It does look like, the Mets, Cubs, and Padres do have a stranglehold on the 3 wild card spots right now. One prop I would be looking at, if you're interested in playing a prop in this game, Christian Walker, 5 for 11 with a home run versus Alcantara.
Okay. That's a good one to look at. The Marlins are actually a little bit better on the road than they are at home, 27 and 29. But I'm just stunned that they're 55 and 55. In the beginning of the year, if you would have told me they'd have a better record than the Braves and the Diamondbacks at this time of the season, I would have never believed it, but they do. So kudos to them. I don't buy that they're going to keep it up, this hot streak. But for now, especially because, as you said, they're playing an Astros team that is swimming, and they were aggressive at the deadline. They got Correa and some other guys, but to me, I would just stay away from this game. That's my thoughts on it. Let's get to game number 2 on the docket. 7:10 Eastern start. The Guardians at the Mets. The Guardians, kind of sold. They traded Shane Bieber, and obviously they've had one of their good starters and their best relief pitcher suspended, but they have still overall played well. They won their series over the break. They've played a pretty or over the weekend. They've played a pretty favorable schedule and took advantage of it. They're 10-6 since the All-Star break. Mets, on the other hand, have lost 5 of 6. That following a 7-game winning streak. The Mets begin the day in second in the NL East, just a half game back of the Phillies, who had a good weekend, but overall aren't playing great either. And the Guardians are in second place in the AL Central, a game over 500, very much, at least on paper, although I don't think they're going to make it in the wild card mix, but should be an interesting series here in New York. You said the Mets let you down. Are you going to go back to them, or are you going to stay away?
I'm going to stay away just because I'm snake bitten the last 2 times I had them. I had them all 3 games in the series, and I just figured I was more of a fade against San Fran yesterday. They got the lead early, 1-0, then Devers goes deep, and it's 4-1, and they just, next thing you know, it's 6-1, 7-1. I forget the final score of the game, but Mets just haven't been hitting, and they haven't been hitting since back to the Padres series. I mentioned I was at the game last Tuesday night, and they're not doing much for power. I know Soto fouled the ball off his toe. I know that's an issue. They do have the great home record, 38-18. And Ciccone, it just reminds us, every time I see his name, it just reminds me of that swanky Italian restaurant up in LA, a little hot spot there for all these years. But he hasn't been too hot at all, and especially against the Mets lineup, 353 batting against, 6 for 17 with 2 home runs, Vantos 1 for 2 with the homer, and Mullins 2 for 4, the new pickup from the Orioles, 2 for 4 with a home run. One guy that hits Manaea pretty well is Carlos Santana, 5 for 15 at 333 clip. Manaea's been solid. He's only pitched 4 starts, though, but 2.08 ERA. You would have to go, I mean, Mets are past here, but I'm just going to stay away. They're just not hitting enough for me. And I don't want to play an under because Ciccone hasn't been too great, so especially against the Mets lineup. Mets, like I mentioned, half a game behind Philly. They got to rally the troops here. They're in a little bit of a swoon.
This is a stay away from me as well. Although the one thing I'll say about Ciccone is he's pitched very well on the road. His 6 road starts, he's 4-2 with a 2.57 ERA, just 40 base runners in 35 innings. He has struggled in Cleveland. He's given up 10 home runs in Cleveland in 41 and a third innings and only 3 on the road in 35 innings. 4.79 ERA at home, 2.57 on the road, but it's not enough. I never trust the Guardians lineup, and so stay away from me. All right, let's get to your Red Sox here in Game 3, Chris. Also a 7-10 start. They host the Royals, who have been very, done not much for a while, but they've stayed in the mix at the wild card. They've won 4 of 5. But obviously outside of Milwaukee, nobody hotter than Boston. They sweep over the weekend against Houston. They've won 5 in a row overall, 7 of 8. Brian Bayo will be on the hill for them tonight. Bailey Falter, who they acquired at the deadline from the Pirates, will make his first Royals start tonight. Are you riding that Red Sox hot streak right now?
You can say it, Adam. The Royals are average. They're 28-28 on the road. They're 28-28 at home. They're just the 500 average team. They have a -11 run differential. They're just one of those teams that's going to probably hang around a little bit longer and just I don't think they're only 3.5 out of the wild card. I don't see them doing enough offensively, to move up the ladder in the wild card standings. And I really like what Bayo's done lately. 13 straight appearances, 3 earned runs or less. Remember, he had one game where he finished out a suspended game where he pitched 5 innings. It was almost like a start. So his last 9 appearances, call it 9 starts, 57 2/3, 44 hits, only 16 earned runs, 2.49 ERA. This guy's been one of the best pitchers in the American League the last 3 months. And Falter, not too sharp on the road, 4.17. Red Sox hitting 286 average, small sample size, 4 for 14. I look for Story, who's been pretty hot, to go after him. The Red Sox have been hitting these lefties really well lately. Framber Valdez yesterday, they lit him up after he was strong for the first couple innings, put up a 6 spot. I don't have a bet on the Red Sox. It's a little heavy for the price, but I do like an over prop on Bayo over 17.5 outs. You got to pay a little juice. This guy has been solid. He's only had 1 start in his last 10 where he didn't go 6, and that was 2 back against the Phillies. So I think against a weak hitting lineup, the Royals, I think he gets through 6 innings. So that 17.5 over on the prop, it would be Red Sox a pass for me. Winners of 5 in a row. Don't want to step in front of them, especially at home, 37-21 at Fenway.
All right, let's get to the next game on the docket. That's an 8:05 start, the Reds and the Cubs. You mentioned the Orioles really pushed the Cubs this weekend. Cubs have the 2nd best record in all of baseball, and yet they're not in first place because the team with the best record in all of baseball is the Brewers, and they have a 2-game lead over the Cubs. The Cubs are -148 tonight. Michael Soroka, the underwhelming trade deadline for the Cubs, in my opinion. Soroka was the only starter they picked up. He's a perfectly fine back end of the rotation guy. I thought they needed something better, but he will make the start tonight against Nick Lodolo. Cincinnati's dropped 4 of 5. Cubs won 2 of 3 over the weekend. Kyle Tucker really struggling for the Cubs. He hurt his hand about a month ago, and he has not been the same player since. And he's obviously the big cog on that offense. What do you make of this game tonight?
It's weird. I thought underwhelming as well. I was like, why in the world would they trade for Soroka? But then if you look, he has amazing stats against the Reds, which is just strange. Maybe it's only a small sample size. 3 of 28, 107 batting average, no home runs. So it was almost like they traded him for this perfect spot start right here against the Reds, who, like you mentioned, have been struggling. Lodolo's been good, but the Cubs hit him very well. Ian Happ, 7 for 20. Suzuki, 5 for 13. Bush, 2 for 2. And Horner, 6 for 15. So some guys in the lineup, if you want to look at some props for the Cubs players, against Lodolo. He has been solid on the road, 5-4 with a 2.23 ERA, but the opponent's batting average with the Cubs players is 322. So this looks like a perfect matchup. I know it's Cubs, you're going to lay a little bit. I haven't played it yet, but it piqued my attention. There's so many Cubs hitters that hit Lodolo well, and not too many Reds hitters that hit Soroka. So could be a perfect recipe for a Cubs win.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the. In fact, I should do it right now. The weather conditions, because that could always play. I was actually thinking about possibly the over in this game, because I feel like Soroka. You mentioned that he's done really well against the Reds, and that would give you some confidence there. But I don't know. I just don't like the way the Cubs are pitching right now. And I have a feeling that this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Yeah, it could be. Definitely look for the weather. I mean, the game on Friday, I think it was Friday. It might have been said the Friday or Saturday. No, the Friday game versus the Orioles was the Cubs. The wind was blowing in. The game was over in an hour and 38 minutes.
Yeah,
I did a double take that it was the ninth inning.
I know. It was crazy.
The guy made a great catch up against the wall to end the game. 1-0, hour and 38 minutes, fastest game in baseball this year. So the wind and the wind blowing in or blowing out at Wrigley totally makes a huge difference. So definitely check that anytime you're betting a Cubs game. Yeah,
I'm not ready to make that bet yet because I want to see the wind. But it was going, I think, right to left yesterday, and they're due for a wind blowing out game. So I'm just going to keep an eye on that. All right, Yankees at the Rangers. Always fun for me. And I'm sure for you as a Red Sox fan to see the Yankees get swept embarrassingly by the Marlins. Yankees have lost 8 of 13 overall. They'll have Max Fried on the hill against Patrick Corbin. The Rangers came out of the break red hot, won 8 of 9, but they've now dropped 5 of 7 since then after they'd been mediocre all season long. So neither of these teams playing particularly well as they head into this game and the start of this series in Texas tonight.
Well, the Yankees are on a 4-game road losing streak, as you mentioned, swept by the Marlins. Texas on a 6-game home winning streak, getting back home after a brief road trip. And I think you mentioned it. We did a show together last week about Max Fried and how he's just going in the absolute wrong direction. Yeah, he has a gaudy ERA still, 2.62, but his last 5 starts, 26 innings pitched, 25 hits, 16 earned runs. He's also allowed 5 other earned runs. So we've talked about the Yankees' sloppy defense. So that's probably a cause for concern too. He's just not catching the breaks with the fielding. His ERA over the last 5 starts, 5.54. So you can't have much confidence in Fried, especially they're making the Yankees the favorites again. I said it on Friday. The Yankees are going to be favored all weekend. You cannot bet this team as a favorite, especially on the road, especially without Judge. I mean, minus 190 on Friday night. I was shocked. I know they had the lead. They blew it. Corbin, solid, home 2-3, 3.10 ERA. So he should be able to hang around in this game. There's a little cause for concern. He's given up 9 home runs to these Yankees batters. Bellinger, 10 for 25. McMahon, the kid they got from Colorado, 7 for 19. And Stan, Rosario, and Slater, the kid they picked up from Pittsburgh, or actually he was on the White Sox. Each of those 3 players have hit 2 home runs each. So a little cause for concern if you're going to back Texas. But I'm not going to back the Yankees. I have no play in this game. The Yankees are just a sinking ship. I can't believe that there's not any more pressure on Boone. He just rolls out the ball every day, and nope. I can't believe he's still the manager. It's shocking, especially talking to a lot of people I know that root for the Yankees on a daily basis, are passionate about the team. None of these guys can believe that Boone is still the manager.
If the Yankees don't make the playoffs, I would fire Boone and Cashman. I thought Cashman should have been fired years ago. That guy gets a lifetime pass from the Steinbrenner family. I don't get why. I think he's the most overrated GM in the history of professional sports. By the way, interesting stat on Max Fried. You talked about his terrible ERA in his last 5 starts, all in the month of July, which is true. But look at this. This was his strikeout to walk, right? So in April, his strikeout to walk was 29-7, which is excellent, 4-1. In May, his strikeout to walk was 37-7, excellent, better than 5-1. In June, his strikeout to walk was 34-5, excellent, almost 7-1. His strikeout to walk in July, 21-11. barely, not even 2-1. That is really telling about where Max Fried is. He had great command and was dominating the strike zone, and that has disappeared in the month of July. I don't know if there's something wrong with him physically, or he was just overachieving early in the season. But yeah, no way I'd bet the Yankees here. I don't love how the Rangers are playing either. I'd probably stay away.
Yeah, it's usually the opposite. It's usually, I was listening to Lucas Giolito post game of the Red Sox yesterday, and he was mentioning how beginning of the season he just couldn't get the correct arm slot that he has now. And now that he's got it figured out, he's been lights out except for 1 or 2 starts in the past 2 months. So
yeah,
it's a weird situation with Fried, and there's no way I'm going to be laying the Yankees as a favorite anytime soon, especially until Judge comes back.
Adam Osimo sends us a message in the YouTube chat. He said, I got crushed this weekend, so I'm being conservative today. I think I'm targeting Milwaukee today with their run line and first 5 over 2.5.
Well, listen, I was super high on this game. I was going to release it as one of my best bets or my plays of the day here. But the problem is there's a huge rainstorm coming to Atlanta. So I think that this game has serious potential to be rained out or not even started, because I want to go against Fetty at all costs. I mean, this guy is a gas can. And if you look at some of the opposing stats against Fetty, Wilson Contreras, 9 for 16, Yelich, 8 for 16, Sal Frelick, 6 for 9. I mean, the opponent's batting average, I've never seen this before from a major league starter with this big a sample size. The Brewers are hitting .425 against Fetty as a team. So, I mean, I'm going to play a little bit on it. I'm not going to go crazy, because if it's one of those games where it starts and stops and Fetty comes out, it's not Fetty the whole time for a couple innings. I really did like Brewers over 4.5 team total, just as a spot play in this game. I'm not going to lay the big number because it's a pretty. I don't like playing 2-1. But Priester, we've talked about him on the show. He's been great all year.
Yeah.
10-2 with a 3.27 ERA. And who's hotter than the Brewers besides the Red Sox? Those are the 2 hottest teams in baseball. And you got to like a Brew Crew on a 3-game winning streak, doing nothing wrong. They didn't make many moves at the trade deadline either. People were upset about it, but same with the Red Sox. Didn't make many moves, and both are on 3-game, both are on winning streaks. I do like the team total over. Hopefully the rain.
Yeah.
If there was no rain in the forecast, I would be betting it bigger, but I do like over 4.5 Brewers team total over.
By the way, odd stat when it comes to Quinn Priester and the Brewers, and some of this is just that the Brewers, a lot of this is that the Brewers have played great of late, but some of it's just that he's pitched great for the most part of late. In his first 9 starts this year, the Brewers were 2-7 in games he started. In his last 11 starts, the Brewers are 11-0 in games he started. Talk about a turnaround, team and player.
Yeah, he's been solid, and I'll have to admit I never heard of him before this year, and he's had a solid season.
Yeah,
I just wonder how these guys, the Brewers are obviously going to be in the playoffs. We saw it last year. 1 strike away, Alonso, the guy's tipping his pitches. Devin Williams has been a train wreck in New York this year. So can they get over the hump? Can they at least get to the National League Championship Series? I'd like to see that out of the Brewers. I have the Brewers at 9-1 for the National League. I have the Phillies at 5.5-1 for National League. I'm trying to beat the Dodgers. I have great future tickets on Padres for the division. So trying to go a little, different here. And I feel like the Brewers, since I made that bet, have been hot. I'm sure that's a lot less now. I'm sure it's not 9-1. But I like the Brewers team. I want to see them do it in the playoffs.
By the way, Chris, I don't know if you had what side of the bet you were on for this one, but my fall baseball league team that I coached, the season started yesterday, and we were a -115 favorite in our opening day game. We are the River Bandits. We were playing the Green Sox, and we rallied from a 4-0 deficit to win 8-6. So hopefully you cashed in some tickets on that one.
I drove over to Arizona in the middle of the game, and I had you guys live, so I got +400.
All right, let's get to the next game on the docket. The Cardinals and the Dodgers. Sonny Gray for St. Louis. Tyler Glasnow for the Dodgers. It's a 10-10 Eastern start. Both these teams have been bad since the break. The Cardinals have been worse, but considering the Dodgers' expectations, the Cardinals didn't have any. You could argue that the Dodgers is worse. They're 7-8 since the break. The Cardinals are a woeful 5-10. since the break. Can't be feeling good about either team, but the Cardinals are really bad right now.
Some contrasting stats in this game. Sonny Gray's been great. He had 11 or 12 straight decisions where he won the game until last week where they lost. His road ERA, not too sharp, though. He's 3-3 with a 5.84 on the road, and the Dodgers are batting .296 against him with 5 home runs. But this is the Malinsky special. The Dodgers have been on the road for 12 days. Their last home game was July 23rd.
Yeah.
So the Malinsky special usually trumps all things. But another contrasting stat is Glasnow. He's been great all year since he came back. His opponent batting average versus the Cardinals is 0.000.
What?
1 for 22. Yeah, I triple checked it.
That's crazy.
The Cardinals' current lineup has yet to get a hit off Glasnow. 0 for 22.
Wow.
So I don't know. The Malinsky special usually trumps all. So I'm going to have a little sprinkle on the Malinsky special. Not a huge bet. But I'd be kicking myself if I didn't do it. And you can get plus 160 or higher on the St. Louis Cardinals. And you got a decent starter on the hill, even though he hasn't pitched good on the road.
Right.
A couple of props you might want to look at on the Dodgers side. Teoscar Hernandez, 4 for 21, but he has 2 home runs against Gray. Tommy Edmonds lights it up against Gray, 9 for 21, 429 clip. Right. And Pages, I don't know how you pronounce his name, the young kid, the rookie this year.
Paez,
the second-year guy, 2 for 3. Against Gray. So 3 guys you might want to look at for some props: Hernandez, Edmund, and Taez.
You know, it's by the way, you talk about the what did you say? 0 for 22? 0
for 22.
Which is wild. Overall, I was just curious to see how Glasnow has pitched against the Cardinals just in general. Not obviously including guys that are no longer playing for the Cardinals. And overall, he has pitched well for the Cardinals or against the Cardinals in his career, for whatever that's worth. 24 and a third innings. He has a 2.22 ERA and a 0.91 WHIP with 22 strikeouts, 10 walks, a little high. But so he's pitched well against the Cardinals. He's pitched well against the Cardinals' current players. That does, make you feel good about potentially betting the Dodgers.
Well, maybe it's an under game. Maybe it's an under game too. You figure Glasnow's pitched good, and a lot of times the team comes back from a long road trip and they kind of go through the motions the first game back. Yeah. So maybe it's an underlean. I haven't made a play on it. I did take a little bit on St. Louis just due to the Malinsky special.
That's true. Yeah, it is. Everything points to the Dodgers except for that. So that makes it tricky, right? But if you put that above everything else, then I guess it's easy. Adam Awesome says, thanks for the input. Maserati Fox, how y'all feeling about first 5 team total over 2.5 for the Rockies? History, of course, is not great. Colorado has some hitters that see left-handed pitching above average. Okay.
Well, I'll say
Eric Lauer. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'll say this. The Rockies, the last 10 are 5-5. So that's probably their best stretch all year. Granted, they've only got 16 wins at home. Gordon, I've never seen this either. He has small sample size, and it's he hasn't pitched that many starts, but he has a better ERA at Coors than he does on the road. And then overall, he's 2-3 with a 4.85. But for some reason at Coors, he's 2-1 with a 2.95. Maybe he's just like a pop-up type of pitcher. He hasn't faced anyone on Toronto. I don't really know what to do with this game. I'm just rooting against Toronto, due to my Red Sox division bets.
Sure.
So I'm just going to sit this one out. Lauer's been pretty good. He had a decent start against the Orioles. He started outside. He had a little rough patch in the middle of the game, but 4-2 on the road, 2.74. But obviously, Coors is a different animal. So I would just sit out this game. I'm just going to root for Toronto to lose.
Yeah, that game is a stay away for me as well. All right, other games. Twins Tigers 640. Twins hung in there with Cleveland over the weekend, won 1 game after trading away, I think, 10 of their 26 players. They've been awful on the road. They're 7 games under. They're playing the Tigers. We're trying to right the ship after playing bad for a month. Casey Mize for the Tigers. For the Twins, it's going to be a bullpen game. So, it's got to be Tigers or nothing, right?
I saw undecided. Mize has just been a train wreck, though, the last 5 starts. He's 6.32 ERA. He does pitch well against the Twins, but I'm not sure what to do with Mize. I didn't want to get on board with him last week. He only pitched a a little over an inning. They took him out of the game. I'm not sure if it was precautionary or he was just. I don't remember. I remember watching the game. They got up to an early lead on Arizona. I didn't realize he came out that early. So he doesn't really instill much confidence. In Detroit, they won a few in a row, but then they just lost 2 out of 3 to the Phillies. Just a stay away game for me. I know there's no reason to back Minnesota with the, they have a double-A lineup. Somehow they scrapped a win against Cleveland yesterday, 5-4. But I'm just going to stay away from this game. Don't trust my eyes. And I'm not going to back Minnesota.
Yeah, Travis Adams, who's been pitching out of the Twins bullpen, is actually going to start this game. All right, Giants and Pirates, also a 6:40 start. Justin Verlander has not been very good for the Giants. Johan Oviedo will be activated off the 60-day injured list to get the starts for the Pirates. He has not pitched the entire season. His last start was September 27th of last year. So his first start of the year. What do you think of this one?
I thought you were going to say he was activated off the 600-day inactive list. He's been inactive for 600 days, and he wasn't good. He wasn't
600 days?
Something like that, yeah. 23. He hasn't pitched since
23. Oh,
23.
You're right. I was saying the last time he pitched was September of last year. You're right. It's September of 23.
Yeah, and he wasn't good. And he wasn't good when he pitched.
No.
Hey, but look who's coming to town. Justin Verlander, 1-8, 4.53, and they just saw him last week. He actually pitched pretty decent, but I think this might be a recipe for disaster for San Francisco. Just off the good wins against the Mets, but Verlander just doesn't have it anymore. And I feel like the fact that the Pirates just saw him last week might lead to a victory for Pittsburgh. They're pretty good at home, 31-25. San Fran 2-under on the road. I don't have a play on this game, but it would definitely be Pirates or pass.
Maserati Fox says Woods Richardson isn't going for the Twins. My books have him as the starting pitcher, but still a stay away. No, he is not. In fact, he just went on the injured list. I just saw in the last half hour. So that's why they're going with a bullpen game out of Travis Adams. So the Twins are already a team you don't really want to bet on. Certainly not when they're going a bullpen game when they don't have a particularly good bullpen because they traded basically their entire bullpen at the trade deadline. Orioles and Phillies at 6:45. Orioles, another team that traded away a ton of players. They still have a better team because they still got their key, most of their key hitters on offense. Cade Povich and Jesus Luzardo. There's been talk. Luzardo, who early in the season was pitching great, has been very up and down lately. He's had 5 of his last 10 starts. He's given up 4 earned runs or more. He did pitch very well against the terrible White Sox team his last time out. But there's been talk about moving him to the pen for the postseason. And the Phillies have lost 6 of his last 10 starts. So what do you make of this game?
I'm going to make a play on this game. I'm going over the 9 runs, minus 115. Luzardo, his last 2 home starts in particular. I know you said he's been off the last 10 starts. And there was an issue where he might have been tipping his pitches against the Red Sox. I'm not sure if that's the case, but his last 2 home starts, only 9 2/3 innings pitched, 9 hits, 10 runs, 3 home runs. So I'm going to go over in this game because Povich isn't much of anything either. He's got 29 career starts, 5.18 ERA. He hasn't had much sample size versus the Phillies. And same with Luzardo, back and forth. Not much sample size either way. But I'd like this game to go over. I like betting overs at Philadelphia. It's supposed to be a warm night. Wind's not blowing in or anything. 9 runs doesn't seem like much for a team. Both teams that have great offenses. I know the Phillies haven't been full steam ahead as they usually are, but with the pitching matchup and the way Luzardo's pitched at home, and to your point, he's been really faltering the last, say, 2 months of the season after a hot start. I really like the over in this game, and I'll make that an official play over 9 minus 115.
All right, there you go. All right, 2 more games that we haven't touched on. The Rays and the Angels, 9:38 Eastern on MLB Network. Adrian Hauser makes his first start from the Rays after getting traded from the White Sox. And Yusei Kikuchi will pitch for the Angels, who were buyers, even though they're under 500. These teams both still in the wild card mix, not in great shape, both a few games under 500. Any play here?
Yeah, I like the under in this game. Hauser's been awesome. I can't believe the White Sox gave him up. I guess he's a little older, probably due a contract or arbitration or something, probably has something to do with financials, but he's pitched great this year, 6-2 with a 2.10. pretty good on the road, 1-2, 2.75. Hasn't faced many of the Angels hitters. I expect him to, show up for his new team tonight. And Kikuchi's been great all year, especially at home, 4-2 with a 2.48. Opponents batting 198 against him, 2 home runs. Yandy Diaz, 7 for 26 with a homer, and Josh Lowe, 2 for 8 with a homer. So not too great averages. 2 guys that did hit home runs. I wanted to mention that. But I could see this being a game. Tampa was on the East Coast yesterday. They're going to fly West Coast. Probably just not their best effort tonight with the bats. Kikuchi strong at home. And Hauser, I really feel like, is going to put in a good effort for his new team. So I like under 8.5 in this game.
Hauser, by the way, is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Adam Osimo says one of my plays is going to be a half unit on the Brewers. First 5 team total over 2.5. You mentioned that one to us earlier. And a half unit on the Brewers full game team total over 4.5. I've been cold, so you might want to fade me. Maserati Fox says Castellanos to score a run is plus money. You like that? Castellanos to score a run?
I didn't see him as one of the guys that really, he's one of their better hitters. So yeah, obviously he can score a run. I guess he can score a run.
Yeah.
You need someone to bat him in unless he's going to hit a home run, though. That's the only thing. He hits below the other guys that I like to bat him in. So, yeah, I'm not against it. I think there's going to be runs in this game just due to the fact that both pitchers aren't really up to par, and you're in a hitter-friendly ballpark in Philadelphia. But, if you like Castellanos, I'm not going to talk you off of it.
Last game to touch on, the Padres and Diamondbacks, 9:40 Eastern. J.P. Sears, who was part of the trade that saw the Padres get Mason Miller, makes his first Padre start tonight. Brandon Pfaadt will pitch for Arizona. Any plays here, Chris?
Yeah, Pfaadt was rolling right along the last couple weeks, and then he ran into a rough start against Detroit. Only 4 2/3, 11 hits, 7 earned runs, 3 home runs last week. So maybe the wheels are falling off. I kind of like the over in this game. Sears, he's just nothing special. Middle of the pack ERA, 4.95 on the road, 4.55. Opponents are batting 312 against him for Arizona. And as I mentioned, Pfaadt hasn't been too sharp. 5.11 ERA. He's been decent at home, 6-3, 3.68. But there's some Padre guys who really hit him well. Cronenworth, 8 for 19 at 421. Diaz, 4 for 8 at 500. And Arise, 10 for 19 at 526. So if you want someone to score a run tonight, I would you would maybe look for Arise because I anticipate him being on base. So I like the over in this game. I played it over 9 minus 120. I don't think Pfaadt is much of anything, and it's either a Sears. I thought he was just obviously a throw in on the deal. Maybe he can be a little bit of an innings eater, but I don't think he's I don't think he's much of a great pitcher. Maybe he'll be okay at Petco, a lot bigger ballpark, but I feel like when the Padres and Diamondbacks get together, a lot of runs are scored in Arizona. So I'm looking at the over tonight.
All right. So that's it. That's every game. So let's do a recap of your official picks for tonight. What do you got?
My 3 official plays, I'm going to go over 9 Phillies Orioles, under 8.5 Padres Diamondbacks. Over 9 Padres Diamondbacks and under 8.5 Angels Rays. I am going to dabble some more on the props, but as you know, sometimes the hitter props and some of these pitcher props don't come out till a little bit later in the day. I really do like the Bayo prop over 17.5 outs. I know you're going to have to lay juice when that finally pops up, but he's been solid. He's gone over 6 innings pitched in 9 of his last 10 starts. The only one start was against the Phillies, 2 back, where he only went 5 1/3. So I look for Bayo against a light hitting Kansas City lineup to get 18 outs, maybe even go deeper in the game. He's had the ability to close out a game. He has a complete game this year as well.
Thanks to Chris and Max for producing today. Thanks to all of you for watching and jumping in the chat. I'll be on live tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern for my Bullpen podcast. Dustin Fox will be on with me tomorrow. There is no Betting Weekly Fast Break today. We have Betting Weekly Hardball tomorrow. I am not on tomorrow, so let me give you who's on Betting Weekly Hardball tomorrow. It is Chris again with Doug tomorrow, so tune in for that, 2 o'clock Eastern. Until then, we'll talk to you next time for Betting Weekly Hardball. See you, everybody.